I know we had some various issues with HiveSense that are fixed, but I also don't even know if those issues have all been deployed or not. My guess is that they have, but or at least we think they have, but it could be one of the fixes got forgotten to didn't get deployed to date yet.
The latest issue we've had was posts being stalled on HiveSense, or sometimes the storage algorithm for HiveSense has been switched from one thing to another, which caused some stalling on our nodes, but this has been rectified, I believe. So usually when my node is delayed, I get a pop-up notice, but our nodes are running fine. I'm not sure if it's on a different level, different issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't really know anything about this problem, so we'll have to. Yeah, I don't know if it's a issue of a deployment of a node of our nodes that's wrong, or if there's just if there's a change in API. I wouldn't really think there'd be a change in API. It seems unlikely. So I tend to think it's more likely a deployment level issue. But either we've got a fix that we haven't deployed, or vice versa, we've deployed a fix that's behaving strangely. But does the search work, or is it just the similar features?
For me, none is working. When I'm trying to do a search, that's better case because of backend perspective. Search seems to respond something interesting and valuable. But the answer probably is broken here. According to similar post feature, probably backend fails. But
I guess the other thing you could do is you could go to the Swagger API.
Yes, of course, and try there to see the response. Exactly, I plan to do that. But first, try to start from network investigation browser.
Gotcha. Channels so people know. Just like Hello has to set up the recording.
Yeah, I set it up midway through the discussion.
Thought you might be sleeping.
No, that's from the past. But yeah, I'm sorry for the late call. Like it was clear in my mind, and this morning I was like, did I warn everyone that we had the meeting? Anyways.
Yes, you
did. I did. But like 2 hours, I usually give at least a few days. Anywho, well, it seems like it's going to be quite a short meeting. I don't have a lot to report on, if not that it's a less busy month as I'm holding off Crawford for a little bit. Now I can replay to head and do some P2P work. I'm mostly working on it in the testnet method right now as I'm waiting for all the witnesses to deploy to the latest updates. I'm also curious to hear if you guys found the root cause for the forking issue that happened earlier.
Over that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, excellent. So yeah, I'm holding on to that, waiting for all the witnesses and kind of chasing them to update correctly. Meanwhile, I've been working on more like local stuff, testnet, etc. As soon as the Windows updated, I'll probably resume, which means that this month we'll probably start to see the first few blocks produced by Gopher, which could be interesting. And meanwhile, I haven't had the time to work on the authority erasure issue that we talked about last month, but I tend to tackle it this month probably. And that's kind of all about it. Yeah, okay. This is for me.
So we started out this month, working on light accounts, and we got fairly far along with light accounts internally. None of it's released yet, but we were getting ready to test the API against Denser to see if the API was working properly. And that's when the forking problem came up as one problem, and also another problem that came up was we were having a traffic problem on api.hive.blog. So let me cover those first, and then I'll go on to other stuff we worked on. So we've figured out that the proximate cause for the forking problem was Go4D, basically a non-reference node that I was working on. And the problem is kind of interesting. What happens is whenever a node serves a block that's too old to one of our nodes, that node would get hung up, basically disconnected, and it'd have to reconnect. So in theory, it's not much of a problem. It just gets disconnected and then it gets reconnected. So the first thing that changed was back in the time of one block irreversibility. It reduced the time to when a block was too old. So it used to be that a block had to be quite old to be considered old, but with one block irreversibility, it could be as short as 3 seconds old. It would be too old because we have usually only one block. Too old means in this case, we can't ever accept a block because it's irreversibly on the wrong fork. So, but this still didn't really cause us a problem in the past, because what would happen is we would kick a node that shared an old, say there was a node that's old and behind. We'd kick that node, disconnect it from the network, from our local connection. So all the nodes who had shared that old block would say, okay, we don't want you. And then he would have to go away and then try to reconnect in the network. Now, when he reconnected the network, he wouldn't have any problem because, excuse me, when a node reconnects, the first thing it does is negotiate to see whether it's in sync or out of sync with the other nodes. And so this node would see that it was out of sync with other nodes, so it would go into sync mode. And in sync mode, the other nodes won't kick a node for giving old blocks. There's two ways that blocks are shared. They're shared through syncing, and they're shared also through what's called inventory. So only when a node is behind or significantly ahead of another node, they'll normally go into sync mode. And in this mode, they don't disconnect each other, because the idea is, okay, I'm behind you or I'm ahead of you, so we'll talk and get the blocks that we don't have in common. And then once we get in sync, then this higher protection that says if you're serving up old blocks, maybe it's malicious and we want to kick you out of the network. So even when a node was behind, it didn't get kicked. It would get up to sync, and then it would share nodes that were in sync. So there was never a problem of significance. If a node fell behind, the healing happened within probably 3 or 4 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that at most. The problem came in with the Go4D node because it's a non-reference node. It's running different code. So it started off apparently by sharing blocks that were old in its inventory. So it would say it was in sync when it wasn't actually in sync. And then it would share old blocks. So, okay, it would get kicked. But the problem is, before it got kicked, it would share those old blocks to other nodes who, before they managed to kick it, would also share those blocks to get other nodes, their peers. So they didn't kick it fast enough. They took the blocks from it, then realized it was shared some of them, and then realized it was bad and tried to kick Go4D. But there's a delay between when a node figured out that the block was old and when it did the kicking, and then it would then share that old block to others. And so then that node itself would get kicked, and then the nodes that shared it too would get kicked. So it was kind of a delayed. The mechanism was the kicking happened too late and caused those nodes to keep getting kicked. And then normally would come back and sort of recover, but with Go4D continuously also coming back and continually feeding them old blocks, this happened over and over again. So it was basically a problem we never saw before, because we had a different model protocol system node working inside the system. So it exposed the latent weakness that's been there a long time. So the solution, the quick and easy solution we did was we don't kick nodes just for sharing old blocks, even if they claim to be in sync. So that kind of mitigates the immediate problem. There's some further on steps we could do to improve the process to make it more efficient, and we'll probably do that in the next release as well, but nothing urgent there. So that was kind of that problem. It also exposed another problem that we had never seen before, which was a problem in half related to forking. Because we had extensive forking as a result of this, and I should say the forking itself was probably not noticeable to most people, because it didn't immediately impact the half API nodes. So it was mostly seen by the witnesses primarily at the beginning, just because of participation rates were dropping. But actual activity at that point was still okay. But then we found another problem this exposed to, which was under continuous forking Hive D. We found some problems in half's forking code, and these problems weren't there all the time in half. They got introduced at some point in half's history, and we just didn't notice it because we didn't have sufficient forking to ever see it. So we had to fix, and that problem is more abundant to users because that problem then caused API nodes to be yielding to be having problems. So we fixed the problem in half, and that also kind of had poisoned some of the half databases. So we wrote some scripts to recover those half API nodes so that they, instead of having to resync from scratch, they could recover on the fly. So all this happened pretty quickly. I think we fixed the Hive D forking problem in a few hours, and then we figured out the half problem kind of struck a little later, and it didn't take us much time to fix that either. In fact, we not only fixed the bug, but even got the fix to recover existing half API nodes that have been poisoned. I think all probably pretty much in the same day, if I recall correctly. So while that might have seemed to be the headline issue for us in some ways, it wasn't a long-standing issue in the sense that it took up a lot of our coding time. The problem that's actually slowed us down a lot more this month was a problem that probably some people might have seen, but was more persistent for us than others, which is we were having loading problems on half API node. I mean, not half API node, on api.hive.blog. And this would show up as higher load levels. So instead of our normal load, which is pretty normal around 12, that's not high for multi-core system, we were seeing loading levels as high as 80 or 90 even. And what would happen in that case is we were building up a lot of traffic waiting to get processed, API traffic. And this could result in delay times or even pages not rendering on like hive.blog and similar sites. So the problem was, this was a really tricky problem for us to analyze. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the exact problem was. And in that process, we made a lot of improvements to not the problem, but things that could be a problem. So at first, we just suspected it was probably increased load of some sort, like bots or things like that. So we did a lot of changes to handle increased load and properly shed load when the system's under attack, so that it doesn't suffer, so that people don't normally suffer from the attacks. We did more stuff to analyze, isolate traffic that might be coming from a bot, that type of thing, make it more able to spot it and correct it faster. So a lot of things in that area, but the ultimate problem we found was actually quite unusual. It hits at a tipping point when our traffic got above a certain level that isn't of itself seemingly a problem. And normally, so we weren't seeing a spike in traffic. That was what was really puzzling us. We would seeing the slow increase of traffic over time, that's to be expected, but nothing that should have triggered the kind of problems we were seeing. So ultimately, it turned out, though, that the problem was in PostgreST. PostgreST is a Rust-based application, and so it runs garbage collection. And what would happen is the garbage collection that it uses is the algorithm it has right now isn't exactly ideal. And so because of that, when the garbage collection cycle hit, which would happen like once a day, it would slow down PostgreST's ability to process traffic. And that's where we saw these slowdown, these sudden spikes in load. And the traffic would build up during that garbage collection time. And it was sort of like a cycle that once it happened, the additional traffic itself was causing problems for our system. It's not the existing traffic, but the existing buildup of traffic. So it was like, once you get in this bad state, it took a while to recover, basically until the garbage collection was done. And the garbage collection itself got slowed down by the load increase because it was all memory contention problem. So we some of those steps we did first was to sort of shed the load, and that helped some. That did resolve some of the problems, but we still were seeing persistently, even after we got the problem down from really bad to sort of a once a day short annoyance, like a couple minutes instead of like an hour. we were still having these spikes for a couple minutes. And that's when we traced it down finally to everything else. It definitely was no longer traffic. We were shedding heavy traffic or heavy loading, let's say. And then we're still seeing these spikes once a day. And so the solution, we first tried a couple different solutions. We tried a newer version of PostgreST that had a new garbage collection algorithm. So like it was a sort of bleeding edge PostgreST version, but it still had problems. It didn't solve the garbage collection problem properly, really. Hopefully they'll get it fixed eventually. But as a workaround, we came up with another method, which is we run 2 copies of PostgreST, and when one garbage collects, the other we swap the traffic over to the one that's not garbage collecting, and then once it swaps back naturally once the garbage collection's done. So this actually was, it seemed like I would call it a non-ideal solution, at least theoretically, but it works actually quite well, and so that's where we're running now. As part of that, we've made a bunch of changes to Half API Node. Is how we made some of these methods of handling, doing traffic shedding and traffic analysis. So there's a lot of changes in Half API Node. That's also where we made the change so you can now default run the 2 copies of PostgreST to handle the garbage collection issue as well. Let's see. And so again, all these problems exposed other problems that only happen under heavy loads. So we found some issues where Hivemind could have some problems if it got under load, and we fixed those problems. We found some problems with HiveSense when it got under load, and we fixed those problems. So under Hivemind, there was 2 problems we found. One was if it lost its database connection because of idle and transaction timeouts, that's a loading problem, then it could basically kill Hivemind. So now it recovers automatically if it loses its database connection. We also found a bug that allowed Hivemind to permanently lose data from a block if it got shut down or crashed during block processing. Shutdown being a power outage or something like that, and crashing, of course, being crash. So we added a hardening mechanism so that Hivemind won't lose a block under those conditions now. On the HiveSense side, we merged in McFarhat's changed to discard embeddings if the Hivemind has got a problem, which now shouldn't happen, but it's still a good hardening for HiveSense for the future. We added code to make that some behaviors optional. We fixed some problems that could happen with syncing under various weird conditions. So a lot of changes under the hood there as well. Probably nobody really would see normally, as long as it's not a bug. Other work done along those same times was we made some improvements to IPv6 handling. It's now default deployed in API. If you're installing your Hive-D through API via Half API Node scripts, and it's also we exposed the ports for the IPv6, so that we should soon see more peers running IPv6. And we also made we saw some issues in the logs that showed basically some unnecessary work being done between nodes working in IP4 and IPv6. And so we cleared up some, it was not a really, I'd say it's more like logging junk than anything else. It wasn't really much of a real issue, but it's cleaned up. And we made some improvements to how IPv6 nodes avoid talking to nodes they know they can't talk to if they're only configured to, if they can't originate connections to them, for instance. So that's kind of the IPv6 stuff. Let's see what else. I need to probably get through this stuff faster. It's just so much. We added standardized health checking to Half API Node and Half nodes so that they'll report their current block number in time. Some of the Half API nodes already did that, but now it's all standardized out. We added health checks to HA proxy to get app status through PostgreST, so that now this stuff can be queried as well. So you can see more about the status of what a node is doing health-wise. So we talked about that. Let's see. We are running with the newest version of PostgreST now and rebuilt the binaries for it and everything. Let's see. We also added a feature that in Half API node that if your node does get overloaded, it's better at shedding load to if you have secondary servers running through a balancing strategy. So for instance, if you're running 2 Hive mines, the system can do a better job of shedding traffic to that second Hive mine. Let's see. Moving on from that stuff. On the other stuff that's been done in Hive D, we've I guess completed the prerequisites to include RC and consensus. So it's set right now to be enabled whenever Hard Fork 29 comes along. I imagine we'll still be doing some testing on that for a while, but it seems to be, I guess, pretty good shape if we've got it to where we've enabled it for Hard Fork 29. There's been some improving to test-related stuff for all that in the testing system. So, what else? And also the Python APIs. We've been made some improvements to Hive D's Python API, mostly consolidation, I think, of some types and things like that. There's also a couple issues with RocksDB storage. We're now using RocksDB storage for more stuff in Hive D than in the past, and that's been part of the process of reducing the amount of memory used by Hive D to as small as possible. But in the process, we saw that also interfered with another change that I'd done a while back, which was to do flushing more often on the state file. And since some of that data is now in RocksDB, that needed to also we needed to handle with basically a performance problem that was generating for, I think, primarily for RocksDB, which resulted in more data on disk than we really wanted. Let's see what else. Beyond Hive D and Half, there's been some performance improvements, some of the Half apps, and some additional features, primarily in the Half balance. The balance tracker, there were some improvements there, and Half Block Explorer. And then beyond those, moving on, Wax side, we've been creating a Rust implementation of Wax. So that'll brings us to 3 languages: TypeScript, Python, and now Rust, to continue the multi-language trend for Wax. So we started that work last month. I mentioned it, and so we've continued that work as well this month. We also made some changes to improve Python call, the Python API in Wax, and we incorporated some changes to the keychain signer contributed by Quackway. Let's see. On the WorkerBee is like a library that builds on top of Wax. It's like a bot library, so to speak. And so we've continued work on the Python version, and we're building some apps based off WorkerBee to test it more, in particular to be sure that the Python version is fully equivalent to the TypeScript version. Another area of work has been Denser. We've made wallet improvements, improved the account history and error handling. We found some cases of data load failure. I don't even know what that means, so I didn't ever get a chance to look into what that meant. It now shows market orders in Denser. We fixed some problems with notification presentation where it was, I guess, showing the wrong reputation description. Better support for the Google Drive wallet that we created, and also some privacy improvements so that when you mouse over things inside there, the messages don't get sent back to the server. So basically, it makes it less noticeable what you're actually reading and things like that. Let's see. Beyond that, what else? We're kind of running out of time here, so I'll try to wrap this up. We also deployed Denser. It's now more publicly available. There's a direct link on hive.blog to Denser, so we're getting more testing from regular users now since it's more visible to them. And I guess finally, I'll just wrap this up because I don't want to take too much longer. We're switching back gears now to finish up the light account stuff is where we're going back to now because it is kind of a high priority for me. So hopefully we can clean up the last stuff in the half API node work. That's what the guys currently work on. That's working on half light nodes, and we'll get back to that shortly. So that's more stuff, but that's probably all I have time to cover now. So I'll pass it on to somebody else.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to go? Only say one person, really.
I'm happy.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so hopefully quick updates from our side for this month. Yeah, we've been quite busy across so many projects, mostly GitLab and also the other open source work we're tackling with the new dev cohort we onboarded. Let me chat a little bit first about the GitLab side and Hive. So first in HiveStats, the new Hive analytics backend we created. So on this end, we created, I think we added 5 new endpoints. So we have a new account RC footprint. We have network custom JSON, usage by ID, activity by community per account interactions. I think all of these have also been applied with the front end widgets on HiveScan. I just updated HiveScan earlier today. We've had data correctness issue. We're keeping our test API node up to date with everything on develop. So this is always upfront of everything that's usually running on any node. So this is powering our HiveScan, so you can get all the new statistics, the new cool stuff that's being launched in terms of new API endpoints. This is serving as good testing environment, but also good visibility because all the new cool bells and whistles are there. We found actually a data correctness issue, so we fixed some issues with duplicate posts and comments due to some merge that happened, a recent MR. We've done a lot of performance optimizations across many of our queries. On Block Explorer UI, I mean, if you go to the website, if you haven't visited it for a while, you'll probably see something completely new, completely changed. New dashboard, new reports there, tons of things you can find, engagement, content volume, DApp usage, author cohort widget, charts, KPIs, everything exportable, CSV. We had the new content available per user profile where you get your analytics. I think we have 5 or 6 new widgets also there. We have social interaction. There's a new chart we actually rolled today, the Sankey chart, which allows you to see how the user is engaging with whom, votes, comments, reblogs, etc. A lot of governance and wealth visualizations. So you can see the HP distribution with Lorentz curve, per account, mean HP, top holders, concentration KPIs. We just launched also a new set of tools accompanying the Block Explorer, which allows you to, for example, compare 2 accounts versus each other across so many criteria. We have, what's the other tools? Yeah, I think you can share an account card, an SVG, an Open Graph image. You can have, what was the other one? Yeah, we have the bad actors list there. So it's up to date from the latest repositories. What else? Okay, we've done a lot of internationalization support across all the supported languages on the Block Explorer. Moving to the For You page, the backend first. So we added a telemetry support so that we know what's being used, what the users are actually engaging with. Are they really getting these posts in their feed? Are they engaging with them? So this is still limited because the front end itself is limited, but the good thing is that PeakD integrated FYP into their algorithm, into their front end. So that is a cool thing. We've done an alternative algorithm. We want to test the ground, which algorithm is working best. So this still needs some time to really see the outcome and the usage and whether this is really landing anything useful to the user base. So we're doing really A/B testing, A/B variance. We've done some additional security and plumbing on half FYP with user roles who can access what and who can do what. On HiveSense, I guess Dan already covered some of the work we did. And I love what Eric has done across all the apps. So we're rolling this also into half stats and half FYP. So the unified experience for versioning and the sync status and last block time. This is wonderful. So we have a couple of tickets for stats and FYP, which will also adopt the same standard. Okay, some optimizations also, as Dan mentioned, on Block Explorer, the Half app, and Balance Tracker, the Half app, Health Checker components. So thankfully, Jacob merged our our change. This was a minor thing, but I mean, it's useful to have it checked. Okay, so on other things, so the new developers, so the bulk of them is still really active. I'm really helping out with how to do things, how to develop on Hive. So all of the projects they're working on, whether the freelance, the Chameleon game, the Lingo, the Hive lore, all of these are using Half and Wax. So I made sure they don't, use something different. I wanted all of them to be properly aligned. They are progressing on all of these. So I mentioned last time, there's the freelance platform they're building. There's the 3D multiplayer game, which I've seen already coming through. It's still not available publicly, but this is pretty cool. It's coming along nicely. The collaborative narrative platform, blogging platform where everyone contributes into a certain story, the Hive lore. This is also progressing nicely. The Lingo, which is like the Wordle, Wordly that you have it on Binance. This game where you get people to guess the puzzle, what is the word, and you can earn some reward. So the guys there wanted to create a token on Hive Engine, and I said, okay, fine, you want to do that, do that. What else? So there's the Waggle, the FYP front end that we created. Also, we integrated the telemetry there so that we get the AB signals and the data back to our Half app. The Hive Runner, which is the arcade game that we created also recently. I'm trying not to launch everything in one shot because there's so much focus you can put while releasing all these things.
It's good to roll things out one at a time, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So one thing we rolled out, and I think we're starting to get something good out of it, is Hive Pulse, the Chrome extension. It's been going for several months now, but last week we launched the first contest. We wanted people to actually grab the extension and try to really use the SEO optimization feature that is there, the SEO and the geo optimization. So we got several entries, we got several people using it and landing pretty solid SEO ranks via the extension. So the purpose we're trying to make people really write quality content so that SEOs and GEOs get high value, and then hopefully this will bring more visibility. Yeah. So we're going to run continuous contests so that more people are incentivized to do so. Already they have a good incentive to get more visibility, but with financial rewards, people might like it better. What else? Let me see. Okay, on ActiveIt side, we're continuously working on ActiveIt. I don't usually give an update, but we've done something massive with the iOS version. It's been outdated for so long, but we've brought it up to date. We have a lot of testers there. We have a lot of new features on the Android side of things. We just introduced animal spirits into the app, so you can actually associate some sort of a cool, fun animal into the app where this animal like represents you or something. We're building a gamification aspect about it. Last but
like you're a dragon or you're a tiger.
Exactly. That's it. And last but not least, so there's the AI finance app, the AI assistant that I mentioned also previously. This is basically ready. We also built an iOS version of this. This is tightly integrated with Hive. I'm using it personally now. I haven't really announced it or anything into the public Hive, but I kind of hinted at it because there is a gamified concept into it where you have your journey, how many days you are tracking your finances without exposing your actual finances on chain. So you can connect your balances on Hive. You can connect your balances on other crypto. You track every day via voice what your expenses are, what your income is. Via AI, we're using Gemini for this. Scan your receipts, just track everything, and get your balances on check just by voice. You can do those manually by typing, but I find it personally easier just to do this by voice. You get all your reports, everything. So you have milestone sharing on Hive. This is what we want to launch. There's the integration of Hive accounts, and there's some sort of Hive native payments into it. So if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe via Hive for more features and whatnot. You can get your net worth aggregation and so on and so forth. I really think this is it. Yeah, the last thing was ABW's work on RC. We ran I love that you're moving this into I forgot the term. Consensus. Thank you. I don't know. I went blank. So we actually ran a test for this. We launched a separate node, a full node. We replayed everything, and it worked out beautifully. So I think this is great, and this will require us to do some adjustments to all the API endpoints that actually support RC calculations. But I think this is pretty cool and is basically ready. We couldn't find any issue with that change.
That's good that
this is
get ahead of that. So
actually, I had some remark here because when we talked last time about it, it appeared that probably we will need to extend half implementation by storing RC collected for given transaction, just to always have present exact data calculated by node in that. So probably that we will need to schedule somehow in half-related works just to be done on RC calculations will be included in consensus, or just ready to be included and enabled in consensus. Because otherwise,
you need to tune down your lightsaber.
Excuse me?
Your sound sounds like you're welding a lightsaber right now. You know what a lightsaber is, like in Star Wars?
Well, maybe I have some voicing issue. I don't know. That's my.
It's probably a bit robotic, I think.
I'm not sure where it's coming from, but only a few of you are unmuted.
Yeah, I hear it as well.
But yeah, it sounds like a Star Wars fight.
Did you hear
Sorry,
what I said or not?
Yeah, we heard you. We heard you. It's just a strange background noise that's making at the same time. It's weird. Anyways, so you're thinking we'll need to make changes to half to store that data, you're saying? So are you talking about half itself, and then we'll need to read that data in half apps?
Yes, exactly. Okay. That was my intention, just to have collected additional column specific to transaction evaluated by node.
Okay. Well, it's not the fun news, but I guess it's useful news. Okay. Anything else from anybody? I don't know if McFarhat, were you done?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else, or are we good for the day? Not much.
Good for me.
Okay. See you guys next time.
See you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.